welcome to the Frenzy Extra. Andy Lacombe here with you again with Jim Wilson, sports editor, Worcester Telegram and Gazette, Home Team Magazine, and Kevin Shea, sports director, man about town from Charter TV3.
Man of mystery.
Man of mystery. We are, guys, this is what coming up? Was this week 7?
Yeah.
Coming up in the regular season. Playoffs not set yet, but teams solidifying their positions here over the last week. Jim has been crunching numbers with his mathematician.
My Goodwill Hunting with the board. I'm just like,
yeah, he's got it all sorted out. But we'll try to sort it out for everybody at home here, and we'll start at the top in Division 3, where, I mean, if you look at it, Doherty, St. John's, Shrewsbury, Wachusett, it looks like it's pretty set, especially with St. John's beating Shepherd Hill. Shepherd Hill's the team in fifth spot.
Wachusett beat Shepherd Hill last week.
Wachusett beat them. So it looks like that's set, and that's where they will fall 1 through 4.
It's like 13.17 points for Wachusett and 8.43 for Shepherd Hill. I think that's too much for for them to overcome. But like I said, that's why I hate doing this, because the math is always weird, where it's like, oh no, it's like I think we counted Leicester out, and like, oh, you look at it, look at the math again, the way it happened in 2 weeks. Like, no, if they win out and then they beat Oxford head-to-head, they might have enough juice to do it, because that Millbury win last week bumped them up. So I don't want to say no, and then I have it, I reserve the right to be wrong.
Right. Well, and this is also, we're saying this with the caveat that we think the teams are going to win.
Exactly.
Like, we think those top 4 are going to win the remainder of their games, and that's why we're saying this.
The only thing you're playing
I
for is
like proceedings right now. Doherty's 1, Wachusett's 4,
good.
Shrewsbury St. John's 2-3. That's exactly. I'd like them to stop right here and stay here. I want rematch in the first round of the playoffs. Both of those games were awesome the first time they played. I think they'd be great again when they play again in the playoffs.
We all have Doherty 1 in Central Mass. Of this 4, who's playing the best right now?
I would say you got to, until they're knocked off, Doherty's still the team to beat. They're still the team. But in terms of who's grown maybe the most, I think St. John's has grown the most, but because they had a brand new quarterback, where Doherty had Vassar to start the season. They had Callery, who was a veteran. They had Fortson. So these guys are doing what they've done all season long. Where St. John's, I think, the offense was all brand new pieces for St. John's. So Schofield has gotten a lot more comfortable with that offense. I think the receivers have gotten more comfortable. They know what role each guy can play on the team. And in terms of growth, that team has grown a ton since the first couple of weeks. And by the way, the first couple of weeks, they played 2 of the best teams in the state.
Yeah. Well, and I saw St. John's last week against Shepherd Hill, and they moved the ball up and down the field. Shepherd Hill moved the ball pretty well against the Pioneers. But even with Amon Dennis not in the lineup, there's just so many guys
that's even better.
in the toolbox for St. John's.
That's why I think St. John's is playing better now, because I think they've had a tough schedule all year. They've lost Dennis for an injury for the last 2 weeks. And they're playing, like I said, Shepherd Hill, Wachusett. They're playing all these teams that usually give them a hard time. They're coming out with wins. Dory, through no fault of their own, they've had South. They have North this week. They close out with North Middlesex. And so it's like games they should win, and games, if all goes according to plan, their stars are playing 2 to 3 quarters.
That hurts.
I think it does hurt.
No, that does hurt. They had the sophomore quarterback shown in the first quarter last week. He was halfway through the first quarter, and Sean Mulcahy had emptied his bench, which was the right thing to do, because you don't want to run the score up, but it does hurt your starters because they don't get that time in there. But having said that, I love Vassar. I love the way he plays. I love the way Callery plays. But it does hurt later in the year, and particularly with your linemen. If your linemen are not getting a full game in, or your linebackers, and all of a sudden now 3 weeks later you have to play a full game, and you haven't had one in 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to be winded in the second half.
Right, and I think Doherty has the athletes to compete with any one of those teams in Division 3. I mean, whatever rankings they fall into at the end of the year, Doherty will match up well, and they'll give teams issues. And I think I'm just worried about them all of a sudden going from 0 to 60 from having sophomores playing at the end of the North Middlesex game to all of a sudden, okay, we got Wachusett next week. Let's get up for this all again.
Right.
Can they do it? Because they have the athletes. It's just a matter of what game faces they have coming on that week.
Yeah, Wachusett's playing good football right now.
Very good football.
They're playing great
football.
St.
John's loss, and they got fired up and re-energized. The old ball coach said some things, I'm told, in the huddle and in practice. Yep. Coach Dubs' his dad. So, they might be right where they want to be.
Yeah, I think they are.
In that 4th spot. All right, let's go to Division 4, where Neshoba is still the king right now in the division, with Grafton, Tantascwa, and Marlborough all in playoff spots after 6 weeks of football. Westboro is right there with a win, and a really good win over Fitchburg. So they've leapfrogged Fitchburg. They're in that 4th spot. Westboro, devil's advocate, plays Wachusett, and if somehow
Westboro plays Shrewsbury and
Shrewsbury, sorry. Somehow, if they get a win in either of those games,
that's going to give them some points. Because they get the
that's
bonus
gonna give
points
them a
for
lot
playing
of
Division
points.
3,
Yeah.
and then they get those wins they collect on the wins from the other team.
Yeah, it's a big if because those two teams are two of the top
Westboro's
4 teams.
dangerous. Westboro's playing really well right now.
Right.
You can mention that Fitchburg win they had. Fitchburg's coming off that win over in Marlboro the week before. They came in, they handled Fitchburg, and I think Dave Tingeloff and that coaching staff has those guys ready.
Yeah, no, I think
they're not going to be worried. They're not going to be scared going into the next 2 weeks.
No, they won't. And one thing that they do, if you're looking for an upset, they run the ball really well. And if you're going to upset a team that's above you, you need to run the ball. You need to control the line of scrimmage and control the clock. And if they can do that against Wachusett or Shrewsbury, again, a heck of a lot easier said than done. But that's how you can pull off an upset, not just going in there saying, well, we're going to sling it all over the field, but controlling the clock, controlling the line of scrimmage. And that's what Westboro did to Fitchburg.
Right. And they turned over, they had 2,000-yard rushers and a 1,000-yard passer from a year ago.
Yeah.
And they're doing it now with a younger group, and it's a heck of a job.
And all those teams above Westboro in that playoff race. And Neshoba plays Wachusett and Shrewsbury to close the season out.
Yeah.
Grafton plays Auburn and Northbridge. Tantasco plays Northbridge and Bartlett. I mean, that's there's some chances for those teams to absorb losses, and they can sort of sneak in there. Marlboro's got North Middlesex, St. John's. They're not, they can sneak in.
Grafton actually, statistically in a dead heat with Tantasco, even though they lost.
They got a tiebreaker, but in 2 weeks that's going to change. Those
Right.
they're not going to be tied going.
But it shows what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. Grafton
Right.
beats Uxbridge, who's got a couple of wins. Tantasco beats Southbridge in a rivalry game, but Southbridge doesn't have any wins to show for it, and so that it gives them a little bit of an edge there. All right, so pretty good matchups there, but there is some drama there in that 4th spot. Marlboro, Westboro, maybe Fitchburg. They
could.
They have South and North Middle. Groton Dunstable coming up this week. All right, Division 5 is Northbridge at the top with Nipmuc, Oakmont, and Burncoat in that 4th spot. Auburn is 5th, Worcester North an outside shot at 6th. Northbridge is undefeated, and they were a surprise team after, 3 weeks when we started this show?
I heard a lot of stuff early in the season about how Northbridge are good, but they're not the Northbridge, or the exclamation point they have at the end.
Right.
They've developed a couple injuries to some key guys. It doesn't matter to them. They're just next man up.
It's incredible. It's incredible. When you think of how small that school is, too, that's a tiny school. I mean, they have, I don't know if they even have over 200 boys in the school. They may be in the mid 100s, around 150, 160. It's such a tiny school, and for them to absorb losses to your quarterback position, some of your guys that are starting both ways, and you just plug a new guy in, Zach Roberts, and Coach LaChapelle's the best. He's the best at just, hey, we'll plug him in. Yeah. We'll put pressure on the opposing defense. I'm going to have this kid run. I'm going to have him throw. We'll design the offense and the passing scheme that's going to fit his strength, but we're going to put pressure on the D, and we'll run him, and we'll do this, and here they are, undefeated, beating great teams week after week.
Yeah.
Defense.
Yeah.
And you're right, the defense is, no, I mean, look at it. They've got shutouts. They're giving up 7, 8
points a game.
That's crazy.
Again, how many times have we been on this show and talk about Northbridge? Because obviously you talk about the offense, because that's what Coach Losh has done forever.
Right.
Is innovative offense, putting points on the board. But that defense, Steve Falcon and those guys, they shut teams down, and they don't. So it's fine if they score 40 points a game, but you're only giving up 10 points maybe.
Right.
I feel bad picking them because I just can't pick blowouts. I always think, they're going to score 21 points. And I know they're not going to score 21 points, but I have to do it because I'm a nice guy at heart.
This guy Falconer knows what he's doing.
He absolutely knows what he's doing.
This is a defense, the statistics-wise, you'd have to look, that mirrors the defense and what they were giving up a couple of years ago when they won a state championship, and they're doing it with different personnel. Nipmuc's right there at number 2.
Kids.
I think Nipmuc's exactly where they want to be.
Yep.
Get to where you need to go, try to win that first-round game, and then try to get Northbridge in a rematch. And with Brony and the guys that are going,
it out. They're looking.
I like where
getting healthy.
And I'd love to get that speech.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be fantastic?
The speech we didn't hear in the Nipmuc game, outstanding. All right, we gotta roll through a little bit. Division 6: Maynard, Littleton, Millbury, and Tingsboro. BMR is kind of always there, and they're right there in the mix with Tingsboro in that 4th spot. And
Tingsboro going to Oakmont this week. It's going to be a tough game for
that'll
them.
be a tough one. Millbury coming off that loss. They have Auburn in one of their weeks coming up. That's
a Bartlett.
That's a huge game. And Bartlett, and segueing to Bartlett in Division 8, that's a big game for them this week against Millbury because they have 2 tough games coming up.
Division 6 team.
And so they need wins to get in Division 8. As you look down. Yeah. In 7, it's West Boylston, BVT, Assabet, and Oxford. Leicester's there. We'll talk a little bit more about that division, I think, when we start our next break. We'll take a break now, so you guys can rest, and we'll talk a little bit more. And we have big games coming up this week in Week 7, believe it or not, and we're going to finish our discussion of the power ratings in the playoffs when we come back on the Frenzy Extra. All right, welcome back. We are continuing our discussion of the playoffs and the power ratings going into Week 7, and in Division 6, it is Maynard, Littleton at the top, with Millbury and Tingsboro in the 3 and 4 positions right now. But you've got Blackstone, Millville, Hopedale right there, just maybe 3-4 tenths out of that 4th spot. Tingsboro. BMR is a team that's kind of flown under the radar a little bit. They've got some quality wins. They've got some tough opponents. St. Bernard's one of them coming up.
Yeah, that's Tingsboro has Oakmont, BMR has St. Bernard's this weekend, so it'll be a key thing. I mean, even if they both take L's, what comes on? You're looking at Hudson and Tingsboro in the final week, and then North and BMR. North is not going to be an easy task with BMR.
No.
So
it's going to come down to percentage points.
It's going to come down to what's going on in other fields. Where do they pick? Hey, we beat this team. They gave us 2 points. That's how we hung on.
Conceivably, you could have 2 3 and 5 teams in there, and a 3 and 5 team getting into the playoffs on points.
Yeah.
Or both be 5 and 3.
Then a 5 and 3 team saying, "Why aren't we in the playoffs?" These guys are. Then that old chestnut.
All right. Well, so and Harold Ogilvy and Maynard, they're just kind of a wagon.
And they play little.
They'll be that Littleton games be a big black and blue game for them. It's a good test for Maynard. Another one of those teams that they're looking for this and they want validation and how nobody's talking about us and going over Littleton. A lot more people open their eyes on them.
Huge. And it's bragging rights, and it's who has the edge mentally going into the playoffs. Because those two could meet for the
meet
title.
again for the championship.
For the division championship.
At 6-0 in Division 7, Mike Ross doesn't want anyone talking about West
That's
Boylston,
true.
but they are in with Blackstone Valley Tech, Assabet, and Oxford in the top 4 spots. Ayr Shirley is sitting in 5th, and Leicester is just, at 3.5 percentage points or rating points out of that 4th spot. Leicester was ruled out a couple weeks ago. Mathematically, they might be back.
I'm putting give me my Twitter. I'll put my Undertaker gif on the coming up. And they just came right back from the dead to give that big win over Millbury, a game they were down 21-0 at halftime. They came back, whatever halftime speech is colorful from Griff and his guys. I'm sure it sparked them because they came back in that second half and they stunned them. And Millbury is still a good team, but that win gave them a ton of power ranking points because of Millbury's record and their bonus. They get the bonus for playing up. So that jumped them back into it. They both win out this week. They have a head-to-head match the last week of the season. That's going to be a great one.
And with Oxford head-to-head.
And
that could be winner goes in.
It could be winner goes in.
Which would be great if it is. I mean, that's the way it should be. It should be winner goes in. And then that way you can throw all the discussion out about we play who and you play who. It's just, hey, we're going to meet on the field. The winner goes, and the loser goes into the also-rans.
Right,
playing out the string.
Playing for our friends and family.
Yeah, playing out the string. One thing, too, I would say for West Boylston, and remember this, Rossi will give a lot of credit, too, but Jeremy Frisch, remember in the spring, they didn't have a weight room in the beginning of the summer and the spring for what is a couple months. They didn't have a weight room in their school. The kids had nowhere to go. Jeremy Frisch runs Achieve Performance Training in Clinton. He's a former Central Mass standout, played at Worcester State. The kids all went there, and they worked out there, and it made a huge difference. Mike Ross said these kids made huge strides when they were working with Frisch. And you know him, Cole McCoubry worked out with Frisch his whole career. But that made a big difference. And that kind of goes under the radar here. Like, okay, if the kids had nowhere to lift or some of them lifted and some of them didn't, that would make a big difference when you're talking about a couple months.
I can't talk to Flanny without Jeremy Frisch being brought up. It's like a mind.
Fred is awesome. He's awesome. I'm telling you.
I'm just making up Kevin looking for a place to work out.
That's right.
I'm telling you, I love Jeremy Frisch. He is awesome.
I want to see video. You just lift up the big tires.
I wouldn't be able to do anything that those kids do that Frisch has them do.
The sledgehammer on the big monster truck tires.
Exactly.
Hey, Blackstone Valley Tech's playing good football. Arch gave a speech on Friday night. It was awesome. We've watched it 4 or 5 times ourselves. He's got it all mapped out for his guys. He's got them fired up. He doesn't really care if he's given bulletin board material to anybody else because he's got confidence in his guys, what they can do. It's really what they do on the field.
That's what you want. What kid doesn't want to play for a guy like that? Don't give me the cream puffs. Well, not cream, because we all the cream puffs.
Right.
Wrong choice of words.
Right.
No, because I know what you're talking.
Yeah, but I want a coach that believes in me.
Yeah.
I want some guy. I'm going to run through a wall for that guy.
And that's what you and I were talking about that this morning. That's what we said. You want to play for Archie, and I love that Archie's brash. I love that he says, oh, these are the teams in front of us. We're going to beat this one. We're going to go to Gillette. We're going to beat this one. I think it's awesome. And he instills that self-confidence in his guys. And you're right. You want to run through a wall for Archie if you play for him. And he backs it up. And I love the fact that he wants to play tough competition. Right. He wants to play the best teams. He doesn't duck anyone. He wants to change his whole schedule around so he can play tougher competition. And rightfully so, he has changed the way that vocational schools are looked at, because it was always, well, we'll have a Voc Bowl for you. Well, Archie says, I don't want that. I don't want. He's like Bill Belichick with the AFC Championship trophy. Give that away as quick as you can. I'm playing for Gillette. I'm playing for a state championship.
All right,
and that's where they've been. Let's
go to Division 8, and then we got to get to some other things. Lunenburg, St. Bernard's, Narragansett, and Murdoch are the top 4. Bartlett's got a shot at in the 5th spot.
Bartlett beats Millbury this week.
They got Millbury, and I think they have Tantasco, right? So they have a tall road.
They have a tall road, but if it's on them. If they win, they have a good shot. They can overjump Murdoch.
Yeah, I would.
Murdoch's got Lunenburg and West Boylston.
Right.
That could be they're chumming the water right there for Bartlett. If they do their jobs and get some luck.
Again, maybe win one of those two. What if they win one of the two? Because they're both up.
Right.
Yeah.
Either one of those games is playing a division up. If you win one of the two, maybe do they?
I tell the coaches, plays up though.
Murdoch plays up.
You're right.
Too, so
Lunenburg and then one up, right?
Percentage points and what's happening in other places.
Fields.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. All right.
Scoreboard watching.
Couple minutes to look at what we'll be looking for this week. Neshoba Wachusett, the game that affectionately known as the Accountant Bowl, to our producer Sean Grady. Who wins and why this week, Jim?
You know what? I think it's tough. I'm probably going to go. I'm hung into it a couple days early. I'm going to go with Neshoba because I respect what they've done. I think they're going to be ready for this game. Both defenses are great. It's one of those games where the offense it's going to be a 21-14 game. One of those games because those defenses are just nasty on both sides. And I think Sam Belinsky had a great game at quarterback from Neshoba the other day. I think that could carry him over Wachusett. But Wachusett, man, they're just so good. They've been tested. It's going to be a battle. Again, I love these games because you really don't know what's going to happen.
Right. Can you stop Alex Child or can you stop Sam Brewer? Yeah. Can Neshoba stop Sam Brewer and can Wachusett stop Alex Child? Because each team is going to do the same thing. We want to stop the run first and make the other team one-dimensional. And if they do that, then they're going to say, okay, well, we're playing now. They're doing something they don't want to do, throw first instead of run first, because both teams want to establish the run first.
Exactly.
I'm guessing you'll have that game. It's close to home. And
hopefully,
it's a big.
If Sean Grady hears this,
it's a big game. Northbridge Tantasco. Northbridge is undefeated. They stand defeated after they play Tantasco.
This is a tough one to take because the Tantasco's win over Grafton. Early in the season, I would say, okay, yep, Northbridge's going to win this game.
Exactly.
But because Tantasco's win over Grafton, that to me now this becomes a toss-up.
Such a confidence game for them. Such a confidence game for that coaching staff and what they've been telling the players all year. Then to see what they've been telling them all of a sudden come true.
Right.
The way they beat Grafton too, great team, goal line stand, come back. Grafton come back and answers. They stop them on a fake field goal. It's a big win for them. Now they're not scared going to Northbridge. Put it that way.
No.
In the past, week 2 or 3, you might have this game getting played. I take Northbridge by 2 touchdowns.
Right.
But now, end of the season, these guys playing with confidence. Northbridge coming in pretty good.
And Grafton's a veteran team. Remember who they stopped? Holbrook at quarterback. I mean, the running back situation there. This is talent.
So both of you are picking Tantasco. All right.
I'm going Northbridge.
I said toss. Always going Northbridge.
I'm sorry. I love you, Tantasco, but I got to go Northbridge.
All right,
I'll go Tantasco just so we go opposite.
Yeah, I disagree with both of you. Nobody wins.
Be a tie.
Yep, a tie.
Frenzy 5, quick time for that, and it's basically the same for us. All right, no major changes. No major changes.
I get Neshoba over Wachusett in my 4 and 5.
And Kevin has.
I go Wachusett, Neshoba, and we'll see this week, right?
You're wrong.
Right. Yeah. They'll decide it on the field.
Yeah, we'll see what happens next week. Who is laughing next week between the three of us? Neshoba, Wachusett, Littleton, Maynard, Blackstone, Millville, St. Bernard's. We mentioned Northbridge, Tantasco as well, and Narragansett, West Boylston coming up this week. The big games we'll be watching for you on the Friday Night Football Frenzy. It's the quickest 2 segments in sports right there with Jim Wilson and Kevin Shea. Jim, we'll see you next week.
Can't wait.
Thanks for being here again.
I love it.
Appreciate it. We've got some great parting gifts for you.
I always get the catered stuff. That's only on Friday nights.
That's what we're gonna get Carl's in
maybe
here.
Next
just
time.
put some in Tupperware.
Next time we'll have
some nice board games. Maybe
does it look like I'm
board
picking?
game clue for you.
Oh, there we go.
Kevin and I are back.
Colonel Mustard.
And we're talking college football on the Extra when we get back.